Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone here in the Baker Meeting Room and those online to this meeting of the Bismarck Planning and Zoning Commission. It is January 22nd, and it is 2025, and it's 5 p.m. And with that, Sarah, I'm going to ask you to call roll, please.
Excuse me, Commissioner Bittner. Commissioner Field. Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Larson. Commissioner Lukens. Commissioner Schell.
Here.
Commissioner Schmitz. Commissioner Sivak.
Here.
Commissioner Wangen.
Here.
Commissioner Zent.
Here.
And Chair Schwartz.
Here. And with that, I call the meeting to order. So we will move on to the first item on our agenda this evening, which is approval of meeting minutes from our December meeting. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wagen
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Zent. Any discussion? And I'm not seeing or hearing any, so Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Wangen.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Schell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak.
Yes.
Commissioner Zent.
Yes.
And Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to our consent agenda this evening. And we have 4 items on our consent agenda. The first being the Missouri Valley Complex, Block 1, Lots 1 and 3 through 19. It is a request for a zoning map amendment. Staff recommendation is to call for a public hearing. The second item, item B, is Gilbert North Addition First Replat, Block 1, Lot 3. And it is a request for a zoning map amendment. Again, staff's recommendation is to call for a public hearing. The third item, which is item C in the consent agenda, is Barbie's Neighborhood Subdivision, Block 1, Lot E of Lot 1. And it's a request for a zoning map amendment and a future land use plan amendment. Staff recommends a call for public hearing for both. And the final item in our consent agenda is for George Subdivision, Block 1, Lot 2. And it is a request for a zoning map amendment and future land use plan amendment. Again, staff recommendation is to call for a public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Sivak. Any discussion? Not hearing or seeing any. Sarah, please call roll.
Commissioner Sivak.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen.
Yes.
Commissioner Schell.
Yes.
Commissioner Zent.
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to our regular agenda this evening. And the first item on our regular agenda is going to be Sykes' second edition. And Jenny is going to provide us with staff report.
Thank you, Chairman Schwartz. Commissioners, Ridgeline Contracting is requesting approval of a minor subdivision final plat titled Sykes Second Edition. The request is located in southeast Bismarck, south of Airway Avenue and east of University Drive, in the northwest quadrant of the intersection of Burlington Drive and Wanchena Way, and consists of 6.06 acres. The proposed plat is a replat of Lot 2A and Lot 2B of Block 1 Sykes Edition. Portions of the plat are currently being developed, and 2 site plans for storage units and warehouses have already been approved. The proposed plat would create individual lots for existing and future buildings. The property has been identified as industrial in the future land use plan and is currently zoned MA industrial. Adjacent land uses include office and industrial uses to the north, east, across Burlington Drive, and south across Wanchena Way, and the Bismarck Airport to the west. You held a public hearing on this request last month and continued the hearing to tonight's meeting at our request. If you recall, staff noted that the required certified letter notifying the applicant of the public hearing was not sent to the applicant in the required time frame outlined in our zoning ordinance. The ordinance requires that the letter be sent no less than 10 days before the public hearing. The certified letter has been sent to the applicant and notification requirements outlined in the ordinance have been met. The public has been notified of this request. A notice was published in the Tribune on December 6th and 13th, and 6 postcards were mailed to the owners of nearby properties. To my knowledge, we have not received any written comments regarding this request. The request was evaluated according to the standards contained within our comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and state law, and as a result of all the findings contained in the staff report, staff find that the proposed minor subdivision plat would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with our comprehensive plan, Code of Ordinances, and state law. Therefore, we recommend approval of the minor subdivision final plat for Sykes Second Edition. Do you have questions?
Commissioners, questions for Jenny? Commissioner Shell.
Jenny, you noted this in the staff report. Can you maybe just explain for the record the naming convention on Sykes Second Edition version 2 that we're talking about here today?
Sure, absolutely. In 2023, we processed a Sykes Second Edition. That plat was never recorded, and it was just withdrawn. Our typical nomenclature is just to follow the next iteration of the edition, so this one is titled Sykes Second Edition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shell. Commissioners, additional questions for Jenny? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and with that, I will open the public hearing. Is either the owner or the requester or a representative here to speak to this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair Schwartz. Landon Emler, Swinson-Hagen Engineering, representing Ridgeline Contracting this. Nothing significant to what to Jenny had presented to you. We have an approved site plan for most of this area. There's a mix of warehouses and storage units, warehouses on the east, storage units on the west. Just by platting these lots and splitting them out and providing easements for everybody within the group, just allows for a future possible sale of any of the units that go up. But any questions you have, I can try to answer them for you.
Commissioners, questions for Landon? You're getting off easy, Landon. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks.
With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing anybody or hearing anybody jumping up, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing for this agenda item. Jenny, any additional comments?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for a minor plat. Staff's recommendation is for approval. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Zent.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any additional discussion? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. So with that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukens,
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to item B in our regular agenda, which is Municipal 6th Edition, and it is a request for a major subdivision final plat. Commissioner Johnson.
I wanted to bring up that I am professionally involved in a project on one of these parcels. The client is not the city, so I'm not recusing myself, but I will happily recuse myself if anyone feels like there's a conflict of interest there.
So the request on the table, Commissioners, right now, do you see a reason to recuse Commissioner Johnson from this discussion? I'm not hearing or seeing any. Commissioner Johnson, thank you. So with that, Lauren, would you please provide us, excuse me, 1 second. Commissioner Zant.
I just want to do the same thing. I work at Gateway to Science. I don't have any interest one way or the, concerns about one way or the other, but same thing. If anybody thinks I should recluse myself, I will, but I don't have any problems with it.
Then I will ask the same question from commissioners, the rest of the commissioners here. Do you see any reason to recuse Commissioner Zant? Not seeing any. Commissioner Zant, thank you. With that, Lauren, please provide us with staff report.
Good evening, Chairman Schwartz and Commissioners. The City of Bismarck is requesting approval of a major subdivision final plat titled Municipal 6th Edition. The request is being made to plat currently unplatted city property as well as the Gateway to Science parcel. The proposed plat is located in West Bismarck, west of west Divide Avenue, and south of Interstate 94, and consists of 22.53 acres with 3 lots in 2 blocks. The existing P public zoning, which allows public uses, would not change with this request. Adjacent uses include the Missouri River to the west, Bismarck State College campus to the east, park area to the north, and undeveloped land to the south. The property has been identified as parks and open space as well as institutional in the future land use plan. The parks and open space areas are kept in a largely natural state, providing many important functions for the community and ecosystem. And the institutional areas are places of cultural, political, or administrative significance to the general public. The public has been notified of this request. A notice was published in the Bismarck Tribune on January 10th and 17th, and 4 postcards were sent to adjacent properties. To my knowledge, staff has not received any public comments regarding this request. This request was evaluated according to standards contained within the Comprehensive Plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. As a result of findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed subdivision would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the major subdivision final plat for Municipal 6th Edition. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Commissioners, questions for Lauren? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing for this agenda item. Is there anyone that would care to address the commission regarding this agenda item?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Bittner.
Thanks. I just wanted to say for the record, sorry I was a little bit late, but I am here now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. With that, again, I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone that would care to address this agenda item? And I'm not seeing or hearing any, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, this is a request for a major subdivision final plat. Staff's recommendation is to approve. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Wagon makes a motion to approve. Second. Commissioner Sivak seconds. Any additional discussion? If not, Sarah, please call roll.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukens,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to item C in our regular agenda, which is Paradise Point subdivision. And it is a request for a major subdivision final plat and zoning map amendment. And I believe Isaac is going to provide us with staff report this evening.
Yes, good evening, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. For this regular agenda item, Amy Burton-Ness is requesting approval of a major subdivision final plat titled Paradise Point subdivision, as well as a zoning map amendment from the A Agricultural District to the RR5 Residential District. As you can see on the screens before you, the project is located sort of east-southeast of Bismarck, between Lincoln Road and 62nd Avenue Southeast, along the west side of 52nd Street Southeast. This project consists of a 1-lot in 1-block subdivision with an area of approximately 11.13 acres of land when you include the rights-of-way, and when you exclude said rights-of-way, that area then becomes about 10.19 acres. The surrounding land to the north, west, and south, as you can see there, is all undeveloped or in an agricultural state with perhaps a couple single-family homes in the midst as well. And then to the east lies the city of Lincoln. I'll also point out here that you can see by the dashed red line, that is the edge of the city of Bismarck's ETA. So everything to the north and east or so is either in the city of Lincoln's ETA or the city of Lincoln itself. The plat area is identified as urban reserve long-term in the future land use plan. This means that these areas are identified to be suitable for some type of urban development at some point in the future, but given trends and information we have available right now, are not projected to be annexed by the year 2045. So a bit off in the future still. The public was duly notified of this request via publications in the Bismarck Tribune on January 10th and 17th, and 153 postcards were mailed to owners of nearby properties. To the best of my knowledge, staff has not received any written comments regarding this request before this meeting. And as a cumulative result of all the findings contained in the staff reports before you, the City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed major subdivision final plat and the accompanying zoning map amendment would not adversely impact public health, safety, and general welfare, and that it is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the major subdivision final plat, titled Paradise Point Subdivision, as well as approval of the zoning map amendment from the A Agricultural District to the RR5 Residential District. Does the commission have any questions for me at this time?
Commissioners, questions for Isaac? I have one question for you, Isaac.
Yes, sir.
Is this part of Apple Creek Township?
This is part of Lincoln Township.
This is part
Chair
of
Schwartz.
Lincoln Township?
Yes.
And did you receive any feedback from?
That's a great question, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. So Lincoln Township, as of right now, is not organized, so no communications with the township took place.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Isaac.
right.
With that, this is a public hearing, and I will open the public hearing on this agenda item. Is either a representative or the owner? And Landon, I see you're stepping up again, so.
Thanks again, Chair
Thank you.
Schwartz and Commissioners. Yes, Landon Edler, Swenson Hagen Engineering, representing Amy Burtness on this. Nothing much to add to what Isaac had presented as well. This is a large lot subdivision for it. So at some point, if the city of Bismarck were to ever get out this far, there would be ample space to subdivide this even further if it ever would become an urbanized area. Commissioner Shell, the city engineer, did request additional easements for water and sewer for an eventual extension of utilities. We have provided those. We don't anticipate this happening anytime soon, but they are available at some point if they were to be needed. But I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Commissioners, questions for Landon? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Landon.
Thank you.
With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And nobody is jumping up, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. And commissioners, let me ask, is Isaac, any additional comments? Okay, thank you. With that, commissioners, this is a request for a major subdivision final plat and a zoning map amendment. Staff recommendation is to approve on both. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Zent,
Second.
second from Commissioner Johnson. Any additional discussion? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukens,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. And with that, we'll move on to the final item in our regular agenda, which is, and I'm not sure I'm going to say this correctly, so I'm going to ask Jenny, because I know she was going to clarify. Okay.
We've been talking about it for a couple months, but here's the
So
money.
before I mispronounce it, would you go ahead?
Yes, absolutely. Chairman Schwartz, Commissioners Mary Ann Cieslak and Richard Cieslak. Okay, are requesting approval of a future land use plan amendment from the Parks and Open Space Land Use designation to the Rural Residential and Parks and Open Space Land Use designation, a zoning map amendment from the A Agricultural Zoning District to the RR Residential Zoning District, and a major subdivision final plat titled Cieslak Subdivision. The request is located southeast of Bismarck, south of East Main Avenue, County Highway 10, and east of 52nd Street, in the southwest quadrant of the intersection of 66th Street and Apple Creek Road. The plat consists of 3.6 acres. You considered this request at your November meeting and called for a public hearing with the condition that a soils report is completed to determine drain field requirements prior to scheduling the public hearing. This has been completed and reviewed by the the Building Inspection Division. A typical drain field may not be suitable for the proposed subdivision. However, alternatives such as an engineered mound system or a holding tank may be acceptable. The entire property is identified as parks and open space in our land use plan. This designation is largely due to the meandering Apple Creek in the area and the area being located within the special flood hazard area. The applicant intends to construct a single-family dwelling in the northeastern portion of the plat, which is outside of the floodway, but within the floodplain. The northeastern portion of the plat would be identified as rural residential in the land use plan if this request is approved. Adjacent land uses include agricultural uses and rural residential to the north across Apple Creek Road, agriculture uses to the east across 66th Street, and agriculture uses to the south and west, with one rural residential use. The Burley County Highway Department has reviewed the plat and has indicated that future roadway improvements adjacent to this property may include a roundabout at the intersection of Apple Creek Road and 66th Street Southeast, and a bridge over the railroad tracks at 66th Street Southeast. As such, access to this property would be limited. Currently, there is an access point from the property at 66th Street. The county engineer has asked that this access be relocated to Apple Creek Road. Access from 66th Street would be problematic and may be unsafe due to the grades necessary for the bridge construction. The applicant has agreed to the access point at Apple Creek Road along the northwestern edge of the property, and acknowledges that this access may be in the future a right in and right out, as improvements necessary for the future roundabout would not permit a full access to the property. Adding an access within the operational area of an intersection is generally discouraged, but this is the only location on this tract of land that would be available. The public has been notified of this request. A notice was published in the Tribune on the 10th and the 17th of January, and 10 postcards were mailed to the owners of nearby properties. Apple Creek Township was also notified of the request on October 31st. To my knowledge, we have not received any comments. This request was evaluated according to the standards contained within our comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. And as a result of all the findings contained in the staff report, staff find that the proposed land use plan amendment, zoning map amendment, and major subdivision final plat would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan, Bismarck code of ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the future land use plan amendment from the Parks and Open Space land use designation to the rural residential land use designation and the Parks and Open Space land use designation, a zoning map amendment from the Agriculture Zoning District to the Rural Residential Zoning District, and major subdivision final plat for Cieslak subdivision. Do you have questions?
Commissioners, questions for Janie? Commissioner Zand.
Jenny, this will just be a residential building, no outbuildings or any future plans for outbuildings? Is there not space for that?
Sure. Commissioners and commissioners, the property would be zoned rural residential, would allow for a single-family dwelling. It also would allow for an accessory building. I would have you verify with the applicant what their plans are on accessory buildings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zand. Commissioners, other questions? Jenny, now I'll ask the question that I asked a little bit early. This is part of Apple Creek Township, correct?
This is.
Did they respond to?
They did not.
They did not. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I will open up the public hearing on this agenda item. Is there either the owner or representative here to speak to this agenda item? And sir, if you would add your name to the log up there and introduce yourself, that would be wonderful.
My name is Nicholas Cullen with Houston Engineering, and I represent the client, Richard Cieslak. Just wanted to inform you that I was here, and if you had any questions, I'm willing to answer them accordingly. And also, Richard Cieslak is here as well.
Okay. Very good.
But
With that, commissioners, do you have any questions for Nicholas? Commissioner Schell.
Maybe it's not a question so much, Nick, as it is just a confirmation that on the plat, there's some additional language for the stormwater and drainage easement above and beyond what would be typically in a floodway potentially. Just want to make sure that the client is aware of that and anyone who's operating or building infrastructure is aware of the constraints within that easement.
The client is aware of those constraints, and there is no plans to do any work within the floodway or stormwater easement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Schell. Commissioners, other questions for Nicholas? I'm not seeing or hearing any, so
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item.
Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Richard Cieslak, and Commissioner Zent, to answer your question, there are no plans for any outbuildings there. My family has 25 acres on the other side of 66th Street, and there's enough over there.
Yeah, you're aware that floods pretty easily. I used to live out there for 31 years and
I am. I'm well
had to
aware
go
of that.
around that a lot of times, so,
And I'm not worried about going around it.
okay.
And there are areas out there that have not flooded during those,
Right.
there are some dry areas out there during those floods. So I'm fully aware of what I'm up against.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, if you're not nervous, nobody else should be, right?
I'm with that. Yeah, I'm good.
Very good.
Thanks, Jenny.
Commissioners, other questions for Richard while we have him up there? Richard, thank you for coming to the podium.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The podium is open for others, and I don't see anybody else in the room. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, and I guess any additional comments, Jenny? All right, thank you. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for a major subdivision final plat, zoning map amendment, and future land use plan amendment. Staff recommendation is to approve all three. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Bittner.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Zent. Any additional discussion, Commissioners? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukens,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. And that wraps up our regular agenda for this evening. We have one item of other business this evening, and it is our usual January organization that needs to take place. And so with that, we need to elect a chair and a vice chair. And I will tell you up front before we start that I am willing to, once again, chair if you are so willing to elect me again this time, but I'll leave it to you to decide. With that, I'll open the floor for nominations.
I'll make a motion to nominate Mike Schwartz for chairman for 2025.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Zant.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wagen. Are there any other nominations? And I'm not hearing or seeing any. So with that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukens,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
and Chair Schwartz.
Yes. Thank you. And with that, we have the vice chair position open. Again, I will open the floor. Commissioner Johnson, do you have anything that you'd like to say, or?
No, happy to serve in that position again if that's the desire, though.
Okay.
So moved.
So we have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Any,
Trent.
it was Commissioner Wagen and Commissioner Zent for the second. Okay. All right. With that, any other nominations? If not, I'll close it. Then, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Sivak,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wangen,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukens,
Yes.
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zent,
Yes.
and Chair Schwartz.
Yes. Congratulations, Commissioner Johnson. With that, Commissioners, I want to thank all the commissioners and staff for their time this evening, and say that our next scheduled meeting is for February 26th, and I look forward to that. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.